Alright everybody, time for an in-depth and super factual review of the Vaterra Ascender F100 bind and drive crawler trail truck rig type thing. I wouldn't really call this as a review, but I'm just kind of going to talk about it. This is my F100 Vaterra Ascender, basically bone stock. The only upgraded part on here is a high-tech servo. Everything else visually has been changed just for visual, preference. Got a little bit of rash on the side from my scraping from just now. I run this thing probably about 10 times by now. What I can honestly say about it, being that I'm not like a hardcore crawler guy who's been in competition, and I don't have like 5 or 6 crawler rigs all with upgraded Vanquish parts or anything like that. I own a Vaterra twin hammers. I've had an SCX10 deadbolt. I had an AX10 Ridgecrest, which I converted into a brushless Wraith, and that's about my I had a Tamiya what is it, the FB01 or something, TT01, whatever. I had the Tamiya FJ Cruiser RTR. My experience is kind of in that realm. I never really RC'd with a lot of people or did any crawling with a lot of people or a group. But I've done enough, and I've done enough on some pretty weird terrain because I'm a truck driver. And wherever I find somewhere cool to go crawl or whatever, I try to. And I just got back into RC after some time away from it. I had sold all my other rigs, and I just recently purchased this. I was in the market for an RC that would be pretty scale looking, fun, but also something I wouldn't have to fix right off the bat. That's one of the things. Being around RC long enough, you start to realize that a lot of these things come from the factory. They're just not built or strong enough to handle the type of stuff they advertise them able to handle. The Ridgecrest I bought it brand new at a hobby town in Atlanta, Georgia. Drove it for a long time. Got home in Louisiana. Was literally driving around in grass. It flipped over and broke the C-hub on the front axle. Like, just flipped it over and it broke in the grass. I contacted Axial. They sent me out a set of aluminum hubs and spindles, or whatever they're called, upgrade parts for it. So, not saying that this is bad company or anything, just saying I didn't want to have to deal with that off the bat. Same thing with the SCX10, really weak parts. The electronics in the SCX10 deadbolt were great. I liked it, but the chassis was kind of flimsy, and the links were like spaghetti. So there's a lot of stuff on the market now, and the one thing I notice is a lot of people are looking at the TRX4s and all that stuff, and Vaterra has kind of been forgotten, and I'm kind of sad about that because I feel like Horizon's probably phasing Vaterra out or turning Vaterra into more of an on-road RC company, and they've kind of stopped since they acquired Axial. They kind of like pushed it aside almost, and it doesn't seem like it's being all that pushed, and it's kind of a sad thing because This thing is really well made. It's really well built. Like, I have no complaints about the build quality on this. And not to mention, for the price, it was like 270 something, don't quote me on it. But you get all metal links, these beefy freaking drive shafts. Everything in here is just so well put together. These axles are pretty great. They look a lot better than the SCX-10, but I know the SCX-10 2 looks pretty good now. But I still think these look a little bit more realistic. Those SCX-10 2s kind of have like that cartoony red pumpkin thingy. Right off the bat, I will tell you things I don't like about this truck. There's no freaking rock sliders. I don't know why. I mean, it's a simple plastic part they could have carried over from the Blazer. They could have threw that in there or something. They could have. I don't know why it's not included, but it does have lights in the front, which I will talk about. From a crawling perspective, this thing is a mountain goat. It doesn't have portals or anything like that, but what it does have is a super smooth motor. It's a 35 turn Dynamite, and the ESC's been running it on 3S. Just throwing that out there. It's on 3S, and haven't had any problems. I am running the stock battery setup, which is, you know, on the axle battery tray. The only reason why I changed the servo out actually is because I put some monster truck tires on this thing, and that servo was having trouble on it, so I changed out to this high-tech servo. And of course that's an upgrade, and I'm just not going to go back because there's no point. But I did put the stock tires back on. These stock tires are pretty nice. They have a lot of grip for a stock tire, and they don't like completely lose their sidewalling whenever they're you know, coming to get something to side hill. So it's pretty nice. Right off the bat, I will tell you that this heavy rear cage with actual aluminum plates back here and this tire, they do cause it to be a little bit back heavy and cause it to, you know, not have the best side hilling or incline. But one thing you'll notice, like here, like you're rubbing a little bit on the bumper right there, but for the most part, like straight on, this thing has amazing approach angle. And if I were to come back with it, the departure angle's pretty good too. So right off the bat, this thing has a lot more capability than almost anything else I've seen on the market, other than, like, you know, the new Vanquish or maybe no, the TRX4 has a lot of hangover on the rear, even the sport model. It's really nice. There is a lot of torque twist because there's a lot of torque, and I feel like it's almost geared down lower than other crawlers, but I might be wrong about that. That's just might be perception. The front grille, really nice detail. It comes chrome. I painted all of this. I took it apart one day, masked off everything. It's painted. You can see the original paint showing through because of the rash of the rocks. The lights, they work pretty good, but the problem with the lighting, I will say this right off the bat, is this. The wiring for the lighting is right up in here. As you can see, my marker light or turn signal light, is the wiring has been eaten away because this is just fitted so close. And whenever you get that torque twist and you're reversing, or you're you know, you just have it all torqued out like that, it just eats away at that wire. And so right now I only have the right side marker light and the headlights. This thing has phenomenal steering. I will give you that right off the bat. It's really, really tight steering, and it is amazing what it'll do. in terms of steering. The one thing that fails it on the steering is these tires will kind of like do this number. It has a lot of push in the steering. And I think that's because even though I got the battery in the front, there's still a lot of weight back here. The other thing I noticed is the shocks. They're a little stiff. They don't like to droop. And I have this set up mostly for droop. I do have this shock torqued down a little bit to deal with that torque twist. The panhard bar is pretty cool and everything, but I'm not seeing the big benefit of having a panhard bar. I know it looks more scale, but I would love to have a servo on chassis setup with a 4-link in the front. I think I might see if I can figure out how to do that, because the panhard bar, I think it actually kind of limits the range of motion. And it actually, with this particular truck, and I haven't seen it on other trucks, so I can't know for sure if it's just this truck, but whenever you have the extension or you raise up the suspension, what tends to happen is the truck body travels to the right and the left side tire comes out more from the wheel well. There's aftermarket for this stuff, but there's not a bunch of stuff. And I really feel, like I said, I feel like this truck is just being phased out. And it really sucks because it's a really nice rig. There's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of stuff you can do. And it looks good. It looks really good to me. I like the way it has that nice stance to it. Even whenever it's sitting low with the suspension drooped out, it still looks like a nice big truck. It doesn't look like some of these guys who are running like, they'll have like a Jeep body with the wheels like tucked up inside the fenders almost. And they're trying to get the lowest CG possible. It just doesn't look right. Whereas this has a pretty dang low CG. It can crawl pretty good. On more natural like river rocks, it works pretty damn good. There's a video on my page on my channel that has it crawling on like broken up asphalt, and that stuff is nasty, like super jagged, super rough, lots of holes in it, and filming and driving at the same time is really hard. But just a little glimpse of what it looks like. I got it because it's a bind and drive, but I don't have a Spectrum. I used to have a nice DX4E, but recently I just went ahead and got it with the DX5C, and I really like this radio. Lots of capability. I'm not too fond of the wheel being way up here, so you can't really, maybe if you did it left-hand, I don't know, you can't really reach the wheel and actuate the throttle at the same time. But yeah, this is my Vaterra F100, and I think I'm in love. Future for this will probably be new wheels and tires, some wheel wells made from Tupperware, and try to figure out some rock sliders, maybe just buy some. But I mean, you got like people making them like crawler fab or whatever, like $50 for like a little metal. Fuck off. That's bullshit. Like $20, buddy. $20. All right, take it easy, y'all.